Yeah, and it was a massive hall.
We're kind of on it like a little promo thing. We could plug our gigs and we could like meet other bands and.
I made the one in the bar, and if you made a few bob on the door, I was delighted.
In my drunk head, I played the best show I'd ever done.
Brainfreeze played the cartoon a lot. From March the 27th to April the 8th, 2002, the band played the venue 3 times. The first was our 1-year anniversary gig there with Suicidal Goldfish and Peripheral Vision. Somehow we were missing a cymbal stand for the headline set. To cover this, our #1 fan at the time, Kyle, sat there and held the cymbal on a drumstick like a champ, and made sure we were able to get through the night correctly.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, because it looked like that, because he's so small, it just looked like there was a small child that you had on stage as part of your drum kit.
Now that you're mentioning it, it's like every time you mention something, I'm like, I feel like it's just there out of grasp. Now that you're mentioning it, but I don't have an image of it in my mind.
Yeah, that's the only thing I really remember. I didn't even remember his name the other day, but I do remember him holding the cymbal, because I've tried that since, putting the cymbal on a drumstick and someone holding it, and it doesn't actually work very well.
I want to say that's borderline cruelty, but honestly, I probably would have done the same thing.
I just remember having that cymbal crashed, and every time it'd be like...
I feel like I was there, or I've seen that picture or something, because it's definitely ringing a bell.
You know what is ironic? Before you reminded me of that, I think it was maybe last year, I had a go at one of my own students for doing that. They were in a rehearsal, and one of them was like, "Oh, I wanted another cymbal there," and there's another student standing there with a drumstick, and I'm just like, "No, don't do that. That's rubbish. Just play the other cymbal. You've got 2 cymbals on it. Play the other one." And he's meant to be playing bass. Why are you? So.
Suicidal Goldfish were also meant to play the second of those 3 gigs, the bank holiday all-day festival Toonfest. However, the singer Dave was glassed outside the venue during the penultimate band set, and the cartoon's manager shut it all down. Before that, though, Brainfreeze did get to strut their stuff, and this was one of our most fondly remembered shows of the original run.
One in
Was
2002.
that one that kind of went on all day?
Yes. There was 2.
Really vague memory of that.
Toonfest was a great gig, both of them actually, but we'll focus on the first one here. 2002, on April the 1st, it was a bank holiday extravaganza. Loads of bands played. I do have a full listing somewhere. But it was mainly Fruit Machine and a couple of other local bands, because it was myself and Dan from Monkfish that organised. Now, Monkfish were quite a popular band at the time as well for the area, and they were quite good friends with most of us anyway, well, some of us anyway.
I knew Monkfish through Edenham people, basically, because of my cousin going to Edenham, and also like when I was working at Safeways in West Wickham, there were a lot of Edenham people that worked at Safeways at the time as well.
Yeah.
So some of them were friends with Monkfish and that whole group.
Toonfest was just... I don't even know how that was allowed to happen.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. I love that. Just the whole day, and just building up to it, and going through all the bands. It's almost like a get-together of everyone we'd been playing with, everyone we'd kind of wanted to play with, and then this little fan base that somehow we built that were, for some reason or not, like, loved what we did. And that picture I was talking to you about, which I still have no idea who might have a copy of it. I just remember the gig finishing, and all of us, and it must have been like 50, 60 people, just standing out the front of the cartoon, and a row of people with cameras in front of us just taking that shot.
I remember at Toonfest, I think it was the first one. All I remember is like for some reason Mike made us all wear like white shirts and black ties. Don't know what he was doing there. It was very, very strange. And someone bottled Dave from Suicidal Goldfish. A casual bottling in a bar. Yeah, and he was like trying to get out the front doors, and like he kind of pushed past Mike and just got fucking blood all down his shirt. And Mike was really fucked, and he was just like, my fucking shirt, and yeah, Dave with like half of his fucking head falling off. Like, yeah, I was like, wait, you let him get past, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely remember the first one because I remember getting my face smashed up on it when Dave got bottled out the front. But
Look, the cartoon, once you were inside the cartoon, it was safe.
Yeah.
Get out on the street. It's the Sinatra's one side, Watertown the other side. There was a crack den over the road in the chicken shop. It wasn't a safe place.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason I sold it, actually, because it wasn't safe.
but that's just part of growing up, isn't it? It's part of the experience of underage drinking. It's the fighting.
The third of the free gigs was only a support one, but in between Toonfest and this show was something a little more infamous. Friend of the band Emily D'Angeli's parents were out of town, and she invited everyone round for a party. She also wanted live music. Brainfreeze and Waste Paper Basket were definitely up for helping her in that regard.
That party was like, do you remember like the intro to Skins where everyone was like, oh yeah, no one's had parties like that. I think this was like the closest we ever got to something like that.
Emily's party was pretty fucking mental. I didn't go to too many parties. I used to go to Adam's party and that, and basically anything that was going. But this was probably the craziest out of all the Fairfield ones that I remember going to. I mean, I drank probably a lot that night. I definitely pulled an all-nighter.
Some of us, probably me, Paul and Sean, maybe I assume it was me, Paul, Sean, Little James and South African Adam, had just made some concoction of stuff from the kitchen in a big saucepan. And basically we just went round either filling people's shoes with it or throwing it over people. And the person that I really should have avoided doing that was Big Alex, because I think I threw some over him, and he literally chased me through the whole of Emily's house, and then just hit me a few times.
I may have had a hand, but I definitely wasn't pouring, to say the least. You could definitely notice it.
I remember playing in this living room at Emily's house, and basically we played these sets, we annoyed the neighbours, there were no adults there. At the end of the night, someone got drunk and threw Mike's cymbals over the fence, and he had to go and collect them the next day. And the other thing I remember from that is a friend of mine, who I won't name, how do the kids say it? They hooked up with another friend of our groups, who shall remain nameless, and I knew that it was, for one of them, a special event, and I followed a kid called Ryan up the stairs just to go to the bathroom.
Ginger
Ryan was very, very drunk, and events were happening in the bedroom between these two people, and Ryan opened the door, and he opened the door not with his hand but with his entire face and chest, and just fell through it and collapsed on the floor. And so I, being the sort of swarthy gentleman, chivalrous type, I just pulled him out by the ankles and stuck my head in and went, sorry, and closed the door again. letting the event continue as per they had wished.
To be honest, there was a lot of shagging going on at that party.
Oh, I imagine, yeah.
It was like untold amounts of shagging going on at that party.
So on this night, several girls lost their virginities. I'm not going to say who, but I think it was, well, there was lots of like couples having sex in different rooms, but specifically I remember it, me and Holly always call it like, oh yeah, that night that everyone lost their virginity.
I mean, everyone was drunk, everyone was drinking, there was loads of people doing drugs, loads of people shagging all over the place. I think there was a threesome going on with the door was open, so people were just walking in and watching them, and yeah.
I remember just like chaos. I remember someone opening a bottle of champagne or something with one of those corks that pops and it breaking my window.
One story I was told while doing the interviews that I wasn't able to use originally was that a group of people went out at like 2 a.m. to get something to eat, and as they went past one of the charity shops, they just there was a bag outside, so they pulled a ski suit out and someone put it on and started running around Addiscombe in a ski suit at 2 a.m. That was, I mean, technically not part of the party, but it's same thing.
I remember having a bottle of vodka and a bottle of Coke and nothing to mix them in. So we found a teapot in one of Emily. It was me, Cassie, and Soul Space Dan. And we just kind of poured all this vodka and Coke into this teapot, and we were just drinking out of this teapot for most of the night, just pulling away.
And
because we played that as well.
Yeah,
Totally forgot we actually played it. Oh my god. Yeah. And I remember like drinking from the teapot like whilst playing, like in between songs.
Yeah, no, I don't remember that much, just that it was just drunken craziness. And yeah, the virginity thing. I remember even afterwards someone being like, yeah, we were having sex while they were playing Maggot sex or something like that.
That's a cool story. That's cool.
Plenty more shows happened over the spring and summer of 2002, however a change was on the horizon, and the catalyst of this change started when Brainfreeze were due to play the Gun Tavern, a pub in Croydon. The band were preparing to play when drummer Kim called at short notice to state that she wouldn't be attending, and we were forced to pull out. A little while afterwards, in the late summer, the band were set to play the cartoon once again. However, just as the band arrived at the venue to play, Kim once again called to say she wouldn't be coming. The other present members of the band, Alex, Alan and Sean, were frustrated and decided there and then to remove her from the band. We didn't want to pull out of the gig though, so to make this one happen we needed help.
We had a gig, and I remember, I think it's probably coming up to maybe near the end, for me and Kim probably. And I remember that because you guys are all kind of, sort of you, Alan and Sean, were more based towards that London kind of scene, and me and Kim were always kind of on the outskirts. And we would have had to get to like lower London or Addington with her drum kit and my amp and guitars, and we just couldn't do it. And
Yeah.
at that time, I remember I was using my dad's guitar, and he was like, "You are not taking my guitar on a train and my amp all the way up there." I was like, "Okay." And I think you had to get a fill-in for both of us, I think.
What I remember from that time, from then, is that basically we all got to the cartoon for a normal gig, and I'm really struggling to remember this now, but I've got a clear memory of pulling up outside the cartoon in my dad's blue Ford Escort, if you remember that, which, you know, would probably be a classic now, and unloading my big Marshall amp that I'd got by that point out the back, and then getting a text from Kim saying, "I can't make it, I'm not coming." And so I don't think I responded, or if I did, I said something probably quite rude, and went in to tell you guys, and we stood around for a bit and we're like, "Well, what the hell are we going to do?" And maybe at that point we discussed doing a little acoustic set, but then Mark or Joe, whoever was in the band at that time, was involved, and then you wandered off, I seem to remember, or Sean wandered off.
So the day we removed Kim from the band, I've tried to cover it from all angles in this particular bit, but from my perspective, it was, from what I remember, is we got to the gig. Kim called Alan, said she wasn't coming, and we all got frustrated, annoyed, panicked, because we wanted to do the gig. We had, we as I said, we were all frustrated, so we decided there and then to kick her out.
I think it was a very juvenile way of doing things, and I think that the better way now, as a grown up, thinking with a
conversation,
which we couldn't do then, would have been to have just got Smeggy to do it for that night, and all of us just phoned Kim the next day and said, "Right, you know, what's going on? What do you want to do?"
I remember. What do I remember about that? I remember that the gig was booked. It was at the cartoon. I think Alan's dad and my stepdad helped us out that night to get equipment around.
Yeah.
Because he came to a few of them, the King's Head one as well. And then we were like, "Where is she? Where is she? Where is she?" And she couldn't or wouldn't come. And, you know, she's very confident in herself, and she ain't going to do nothing. She won't do it. She says she's not going to do it, and that's what she feels like. She's not going to do it. We know the girl. She was always like that. She was really strong-minded.
Yeah.
Right. But it was just so. The way that happened was just so stroppy. I don't know if that's the right word or not, but it's the only one I can think of that comes close. It was just stroppy, and she got on the back foot, I think, because we rang up, "Where are you?" and there was a bit of an argument about it, and at that point I think she just got fed up with it and didn't ring. It was probably just going to not come anywhere anyway. But then we didn't want to be stuck like that.
I didn't know you were maybe you were coming with Kim anyway. Potentially.
I think I was meant to, yeah. And I think for some reason I remember, I think we were meant to be driven there, and then her mum couldn't do it, so we were like, "Right, we've got to get trains." And it was like, "Okay, how am I going to take a drum kit on a train?" I was like, "It's going to be hard." I was like, "I can't take my stuff," and I think that's literally where it came from.
So me and Sean were outside trying to think of what to do. I think we were thinking of doing a normal set, the acoustic stuff, and Smeggy comes over from across the road. Now we'd only met him a couple of weeks earlier, so we knew he was a drummer, but we didn't know him that well. He offered to help out.
Came over and he was like, "Oh, shoot down then, I'll be your drummer." Oh, and I honestly thought he was going to sexually abuse me. Don't put that in the documentary.
I think he'd be proud for you to say that.
But the thing is, and he played with us that night, but his name was Tim, or Smeggy, as everyone knew him as. And he was a hard rocking, hard living, hard drumming legend.
Living in Croydon, my mate Colin was a sound engineer there. I walked in on it must have been a midweek, and I remember I said, "Oh, Colin, what's happening today, mate?" He said, "Oh, so and so band Brainfreeze." He said, "Good band, but the drummer's not there." I'm like, "Oh shit!" No, you guys, just the three of you, or four of you, sorry. You look so fed up. I thought I'll have a chat with the boys. What's going on, lads? Drummer, blah blah blah. I said, "Well, look, what stuff do you do, right?" I remember going down with you, Alan and Sean, down to a little green room. Am I right?
Yeah, that's it.
And you run through some songs. I said, "Fuck it, I've got my drum kit downstairs in the lockup there. Let's bring them up. Look, you're here now. Give me the riff. I'll join in, and let's see how we do. Don't make it a wasted journey." That's all I remember. Am I right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And as it happened, you smashed it.
Yeah, I just thought, listen to you guys, right? I was looking at Alan, and I thought, right, Sean's there. He's like, "Who's this old geezer?" Right, you know. I thought, lads, look, I'll tell you what, I'm listening to your tunes. Let's have a go. And I thought, the songs are really raw, but I thought, there's energy about you guys, you know, and I thought, this is really fucking cool, you know.
And yeah, we were like skeptical because he didn't know the music, but yeah, he went into the downstairs room at the cartoon, played him the stuff, and he picked it up pretty quickly, and then played the gig, and he absolutely smashed it. He did the whole thing as well as someone who's only heard the riffs once in a quick practice session would do. It was pretty damn good.
So we was outside talking about it. What we're going to do. So I think that's when Smeggy crossed the road from that little bar place called Chicago or something like that. Looks across the road.
Yeah.
To finish his night of drinking in the cartoon. Because we always spoke to him, we was all pretty close. That's what happened. We ended up in the room, the band room downstairs, just to see if we could make it work. Because he was going to stand in. Well, I'll do it. He's always got a set of drumsticks in his back pocket, so I'll do it.
Yeah.
It went something like that, and then we went downstairs to it, just sort of running through it, and he just instinctively knew what everything was going to sound like from his point of view.
We met him and he said, "I'll drum for you," and I was like, "Whatever." So we went down into the green room of the cartoon, and I literally played him the riffs once, and he sat there with his drumsticks on his legs and was just like, "Yeah, got it." And do you know what? He bloody had it for 70% of the time on stage. And I think we only played about 5 songs or something, didn't we? Because that was all we could.
Yeah, we did whatever we could do without what Smeggy could follow on with. So like,
yeah,
I reckon we probably pushed it up to 8 songs.
I remember something. I didn't know what was. I didn't know. I was thinking, I'm just glad I got through this gig.
Yeah, and he was basically like he didn't know any of the songs, but he just filled in because he's a professional, and it still sounded brilliant. It's like I'd only heard what you played me from CDs, and now I'm hearing it for the first time, and it still was like, Jesus Christ, this is fantastic.
So I really don't remember that there was any nastiness other than that initial moment when she said, "I can't make it." I may have phoned her and said, got all angry about it.
At the end of the set, obviously we normally played Maggot sex. For this one, we were drunk. We were a bit drunk, quite angry, frustrated, and it's we probably from encouragement from Beej, James Barber, #1 fan. He has previous in getting us to change lyrics to Maggot Sex. We did change the lyrics to Maggot Sex to I Hate Kim, which was quite a regrettable thing in hindsight, obviously, because, well, it's just mean, isn't it? And if you are watching, Kim, I completely apologise.
Was it me?
It must have been.
I don't know who it was.
I can imagine it being. It's something. Sounds like some. Because remember, you also suggested Zarhead's Free.
I was there for that gig. I remember it happening, but I don't remember suggesting it. Maybe I did, and it's entirely possible.
I genuinely have got no memory of that. I've got no memory of the gig, other than being absolutely terrified of Smeggy.
I mean,
I hate the idea that we changed. I don't like the idea that we changed the lyrics.
No, exactly, and I
and there's
regret
nothing wrong
it
with being
myself
angry,
now.
but I think, I am. It's all well and good being angry. Anyone can be angry. There's usually got a good reason for it, but that still doesn't sit right with me. That was the wrong thing to do. It didn't demonstrate our resolve. It just made us look like children.
Do you know what? I very much regret, looking back with an adult head on, we were just kids. And I very much wish that the next day I'd have got in touch with her and made sure she was all right.
We are on speaking terms again, I believe. She did. I think we've all spoken to her since. I think I saw her a couple of weeks after the gig, and she wasn't happy. We're at a party of a friend's friend Alan, different Alan, and it was civil. It was civil, but I could tell she was pissed off.
And beyond that time, because we'd left school by then, me and Kim, and I don't think I really spoke to her again. And the only time I ever saw her again was in Croydon Town Centre when I worked in my gap year after college. I worked at Jessop's Photographic, if you remember. You remember when people had real photos that they used to print and touch and physically engage with in the real world?
Oh yeah, no, I still talk to her. I'm not in the last little while, but the invention of Facebook and all that, and it was all bygones be bygones, and it was all a bit silly. And
when I worked at Jessop's, I was on my lunch break and I was in this really ill-fitting uniform that was like quite a tight shirt. And I'm an overweight person anyway, even then. I mean, more so now. But it was just quite tight-fitting shirt and a really awkward little tie, which would probably actually be quite fashionable now, little skinny tie. And I was going to lunch and she was like, Alan, I don't know, this wasn't that. But this was before memes, kids. There was a time before memes where if you saw something funny, you just laughed at it. Anyway, I'm getting out of hand now. And I spoke to her for about 5 minutes, and she looked completely different because the last time I'd seen her, obviously she had long, straight black hair, black eye makeup, looked like Slipknot. I think purposefully. I don't think that's an insult. And she looks like a total. I don't want to, and if she ever does see this, I don't want this to be an insult. She looked totally normal in a lovely way. She looked absolutely beautiful, had this lovely modern haircut, which I can't quite picture now, but had like all colours in it. She was wearing really nice clothes, and I didn't recognise that it was her. And it was only when she spoke that I sort of recognised. And we had a lovely chat, and beyond that, I've not spoken to her again.
Smeggy impressed a lot that night, and off the back of that one performance, he was offered a permanent spot in the band. And there would also be another new member of the band pretty soon. Unfortunately, Joe wasn't always able to make it to our shows either. Another decision was made to replace him with a friend of Alex and Sean, Mark Denson.
I get the feeling it was a bit of random things. Obviously, you weren't able to make all of the gigs because you were. I think you had a job back then.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I think I just didn't have a way. More so, I just didn't have a way of getting to certain places.
From thinking about it, you either you had a job, then you had to go there. You had to do that instead of the gigs. You had a girlfriend who was more demanding of the time. Can't remember. You might have.
Yes, actually, both parts. You're right, because at that time, she lived. My girlfriend at the time then lived down in East Sussex, and I was working at the petrol station nights, so that was like 6 o'clock till like midnight. Yeah, so that would have made sense.
And so it was a point where it's like you hadn't been to a gig in ages because you couldn't, and so we figured it would be probably a good idea to replace you. Although I don't actually remember telling you, which I feel guilty about.
That's the only thing I don't remember, because please don't feel guilty, by the way. I remember kind of, again, that coming through Kim, because she wasn't going, and she was my way of getting there, because her mum used to take us. And then it was like, well, if you're not doing it, I kind of can't do it. And I think it kind of silently, amicably kind of, well, I don't think anyone's doing it anymore.
Did she?
Yeah, I think it just stopped. I think I just stopped getting told that gigs were happening, and I just assumed they weren't.
So, with obviously before Brainfreeze, you've been in a lot of bands.
Yeah.
Can you name them all?
There's a lot, mate. There's a lot of, yes. I've watched since 1975. You're talking.
Can you name a few?
Yeah, I could do, man. Let me think. I don't know. I've got Rock of Ages. I've got the Reflections. I've got the Rock and Roll Gypsies. The Smeggies Pumping Helmets. Yes, take note of that one, mate. Sleazy Boy and the Blues Bastards. That's just about. Oh, Jack the Ripper, another one. That was good. And then now, Toodle and the Pips, new one. We went to the Czech Republic 3 years ago on tour. And now it's just sort of what I'm doing now, which is not a lot.
And
That's 7.
of course, there's shooshoodangdang.com, of course.
Shooshoodangdang.com. Yes, indeed. Oh, very fine gentlemen, these boys. Yes, Shooshood Dang Dang, the Gas Boys, the New York band. That's been about, I think, 27 bands I've been in. I'm in 3 at the moment. Obviously, not much work at the moment.
First time I met Smeggy was a few, not too long before he actually joined the band. But we were in the corner table at the cartoon, me with Lisa Simmons, Purple Lisa, if you remember her. And he came over to us and asked if we wanted to see his Pocket Mouse. I'll leave that story there. That's like, do you have any Smeggy stories?
Well, there's this. I mean, when you say that, the first thing I think about is Smeggy's Pocket Mouse.
that was the first thing I was going to say. Anyway, but
well, Smeggy was just a character. Every time you saw him, there was a story to tell. He was just a character. Everybody knew Smeggy, and he was great. I loved him.
I mean, he's just incredibly funny and very kind as well. And yeah, because he'd do that, he'd do that to you, and then you'd sort of laugh, and then he was relentless, wasn't he?
I thought, lads, hope the gig went well. Give me a shout. If you want me to help out until you get a drummer maybe your age. That lasted about an hour and a half, and then a year and a half.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was great. It was, you know what? It was good fun. And then I remember Mark. I said, lads, any chance we can have a rehearsal? I need to know what I'm doing. So we go down to Scrim Studios to see you and Alan, and Sean. And then Mark was like, hello, you used to think for Brainfreeze. I said, yes, mate. He looked really fucking nervous. I said, mate, I've done my rehearsal. It was called a gig. Don't worry. And what I liked about it, you're giving it the large. It's fantastic. And between Alan and Mark, they just kind of blended in quite well guitar-wise. So I could spend time with Sean as a bass and drums, as it should be.
He was so friendly towards me, and very encouraging, and I needed that because as I say, I was quite a shy person, even though my behaviour may not have always sort of made that obvious. Like I was quite shy, so he was great for my self-esteem. I think I always felt a bit intimidated by Alan because he was just so much better the guitar than I was, and uh, and he wasn't too worried about sort of saying things, or
Or re-recording things.
re-recording things, or just like stopping everything and like starting again. But even he was very kind, and I liked Alan.
I've got no memory of how Mark came on the scene. He was just 1 minute no one knew him, and then everyone knew him.
Mark was a friend of me and Sean. I knew him from Fairfield, and from then he met Sean, and he became quite good friends with Sean. But after, because Joe didn't seem like he was able to make a lot of the gigs, and because of when with Kim gone, that was his ride gone. We figured it probably a good idea to get a new guitarist in. So I asked Mark to see if he wanted to be in there.
I just remember you asking me if I want to come and try out, and I'd seen Brainfreeze play. And I think I did talk to Sean about that. I remember talking to Sean. I remember actually watching the gig, and then I spoke to Sean either that evening or the next day, and I was talking to him about a song, and I was sort of saying, oh yeah, talking about the chords or the structure of a song or something, and he had no idea what I was talking about. I could sort of like, he was sort of like, oh right, okay, good, but anyway, I remember you asking me if I just wanted to come and try out, which was exciting. Yeah, I played guitar, but it was but yeah, I would never, I mean, looking back, I was very shy actually, so I would never have I don't know, it was sort of like, oh okay, if somebody asked me, I would yeah, okay, but I would never had the incentive to actually go and do that. So yeah, I remember, and I remember coming to that first session at Scream. Was it Scream? Is that what it's called?
I think we either would have done it at Scream Studios up in South Croydon, or would have done it at Rock Bottom. But I think Scream was normally the place of choice.
Scream, yeah, and meeting Smeggy, and he was new. And then just running through the songs, and I remember like you guys were all sort of like, oh, he's got it, like this is easy, so let's just keep going.
So one thing with the early Brainfreeze songs is they were pretty easy.
yeah, they were,
yeah, our songs weren't difficult, were
exactly.
They? I was very excited. I mean, as is my sort of nature, I'm not like an overly dramatic person, so I probably would have gone like, yeah, fine, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. But I was, I remember I was very excited, and nervous. So that's it. To be honest, I never liked performing. The bit I liked best was being at Scream Studios and jamming with you guys and making up stuff. And having a spliff and a drink and just playing music.
My memory of things is a bit hazy due to all the booze.
Yeah.
But I believe I was already friends with Mark at that point. So to have Mark join the band felt quite good, I think. And I think I used to be quite vocal about Mark being on stage, and I think I started a little group of us who would really overly cheer Mark whenever he was on stage.
I mean, in a weird way, I sort of looked up to Alan. I was happy to follow his lead because he was very good at the guitar. He knew what he was talking about, and he had the theory. He had some understanding because he was doing music. He had some understanding, which I didn't. I could play guitar. I think I had a good sense of rhythm, but I didn't really necessarily know the ins and outs of what we were doing. Whereas he would. I think I trusted him, but I was also a little bit sort of wanting to sort of like make him proud, maybe, or just sort of keep up with him or something. So I just always felt like he was better than me. So, and he was. So that's true.
I actually think that's when Brainfreeze were born. When we were doing it with Kim, we were more like fetuses.
And then
really, and then suddenly we were born, and that was the catalyst. That's the night I think Brainfreeze were really born.
We were sort of part of a scene, weren't we?
Yeah.
I mean, and for me, the band and that scene are very entwined. So when I think back, you know, you doing this, and I kind of thinking back about that time, you know, the two things are kind of enmeshed in a sort of just a sort of a whirlwindy type experience. Which is exclusive to me and you within Brainfreeze, because, you know, Sean didn't really hang around with the Fairfielders, and Alan didn't, and Smeggy was Smeggy, you know. He was sort of cartoon sort of thing. So
I could tell you one prominent memory about Mark, or Slater, as he used to go by then. Because he used to be quite shy, but I can't remember if it was like after the Black Sheep or anything like that. I remember it was me, it was Slater, and it was Sean Nash. And I remember Mark was just like, we were just literally outside Fairfield, and he was just like, fuck it, I'm just going to get naked. And he literally got bollock naked and started running around. That kind of puts me in mind of where the kind of the Brainfreeze trajectory was going.
My life has always been so poor until you opened up the door. I wish I could step on the gas. If only I wasn't so happy. Forever young, I'm never gonna change. Forever young, it's gonna be the same. Forever young, I'm never gonna change. Forever young, it's gonna be my way. My hopes and dreams went down the pan, 'cause I will never be the man. But I have one thing over you, and that is I will always be true. Forever young, I'm never gonna change. Forever young, it's gonna